When Dixie Thompson, manager of the Arlington Hotel, rode the first bicycle up State Street in 1869, he caused quite a commotion. Bicycles were a rare sight in Santa Barbara until the mid-1880s, but the bicycle, then as now, provided a fun and affordable transportation option. Soon, there were so many cyclists in Santa Barbara that they were causing traffic problems. In 1894, the City Council reacted by passing two ordinances. The first required cowbells on bicycles to warn pedestrians of possible conflicts. The second imposed a speed limit of 7 miles per hour. With the advent of the automobile, the heyday of the bicycle was short-lived. By the 1920s, streetcars and automobiles dominated local streets, originally built and paved for bicycle and buggy use. Today, bicycling is enjoying a renaissance in Santa Barbara. In just the past 12 years, the number of bicycle commuters in town has more than doubled to nearly 7%, ranking Santa Barbara third nationally for cities our size. But along with increased ridership has come an uptick in accidents. Year-to-date, there has been an 18% increase in bicycle traffic collisions over the same period in 2013, and that's 29% more than in 2012.
Bicycling is growing in a big way, and our city has a pretty vibrant economy, and so what that makes for a really active downtown. The problem with that is, with all the new riders, we have a lot of tourists, we've got a lot of folks that are maybe a little unfamiliar with our downtown, and so they might not know all the rules of the roads or all the routes, and sometimes they're distracted as well.
Most common one I see is riders riding without any visible clothing, against traffic, and sometimes on the sidewalk. And also many riders don't respect the rule of the road, going through stop sign or red light, and that gives kind of a bad reputation for all of us bicyclists who try to be bike ambassadors.
In response to the increase in bicycle-related collisions and to improve safety for all road users, the police department, with coordination from the Santa Barbara Bicycle Coalition, conducted 2 days of targeted enforcement in the downtown on November 11th and 12th.
The most common infractions, which was borne out when we were writing the tickets, is riding on the sidewalk, riding through the red light, and failing to stop for stop signs. Those would be the three top bicycle violations that we come across.
We're mostly trying to affect adherence to existing rules. We're not trying to do anything new or crazy or out of the ordinary, but we have posted speed limits, we've got marked crosswalks, we've got designated bike lanes, and what we want to do is make sure people are just following the rules of the road.
As a bike rider myself, I thought it would be a good idea to get a refresher on those rules of the road. So I went to bicycle instructor extraordinaire Mike Vergeer of SB Bike.
Okay, ready?
It turns out the rules for bikes are virtually identical to those for cars.
You should have a look at the California Vehicle Code. It's got thousands of items on it about how to drive safely. There are only 4 or 5 or so that are specific to bicyclists. The other 5,000 of them are the same for bicyclists as they are for drivers of cars.
So the ticket to safe bicycling on the road is to consider yourself a vehicle and behave accordingly.
So bicycles have to stop for red lights just as cars do. Bicycles have to stop for stop signs, full and complete stop, just like a car has to do. A bicycle is not allowed to impede the roadway. A bicycle is not allowed to violate pedestrians' right-of-ways. So any moving violation that you can think of that applies to a car also applies to a bicycle.
When it comes to technique, lane positioning is key.
You don't want to assume that these cars are unoccupied, and you want to assume that the door might be thrown open at any moment. So I'm always about 4 feet outside of the door zone here.
It's important to know that safe lane positioning is relative. For instance, if you're riding on a street with no bike lane that doesn't have enough room to both keep the 4-foot distance from parked cars while keeping you out of traffic, you need to take the lane.
I'm going to take the lane.
Taking the lane means moving to the center of the lane, precluding cars from passing you.
If I were any further to the right, I'd be encouraging cars behind me to come up and pass me along the left side, and that's not safe for anybody. But now that the street is widened up again, I'm going to veer back over to the right. We're limited as to the ways that we can communicate with drivers. I can make hand signals, and those are great, but also my lane positioning is a really strong indicator to drivers of cars around me of what I'm about to do next. So if they see me moving toward the center, they know that I'm either going to go straight or turn left.
Thanks to California's new 3 feet for safety law, drivers must now leave at least 3 feet of clearance when passing a bicyclist.
3 feet is not that much, but at least as a cyclist, it's very disturbing when a car zips by at a feet or two from us. So it's kind of a law to make sure that we don't frighten cyclists. It's a courteous way of passing cyclists.
And that brings us to another key component to safe bicycling: courtesy.
Go ahead.
Giving respect may not be required by the vehicle code, but it can go a long way in driver-bicyclist relations and getting respect.
I got a red light up here. I'm going to pull into the center of the lane so that cars might need to make a right turn on the side of me.
And as a reminder for drivers, courtesy is a two-way street.
Are you sure? Okay, thank you.
And that courtesy should extend to pedestrians. If you don't have a bell, a simple "on your left" will suffice. So I'm looking over my shoulder, it's clear, the road ahead is clear. On your left.
The road ahead for bicycling in Santa Barbara is also clear thanks to the Bicycle Master Plan, which was first adopted in 1974 and is currently being updated for 2015.
And the Bicycle Master Plan is a document that guides all of our efforts for bicycle improvements. We like to have a list of projects in there that tell us what we need to do next. It also enables us to get funding from state and federal sources. There are many requirements that say you have to have an adopted Bicycle Master Plan in order to get outside funding for projects. So that's a big purpose of the plan.
With the Bicycle Master Plan as its guide, the city will continue to strive to create more bike facilities and promote safe behavior through education and enforcement. And while the focus is on bicycles, all modes of transportation benefit.
The more people we get using our transit system and walking for some of their short trips and bicycling, it's one of the few tools we have left to combat congestion. One of the nicest things about Santa Barbara is it's pretty easy to get almost anywhere in town, but as the city grows and the economy stays vibrant, that leads to more traffic congestion. We want to keep automobile travel easy, flexible, and cheap here in Santa Barbara, and one of the ways to do that is to get the folks who are willing to bike, walk, or take transit to go ahead and take those trips.